Hello again. Now, let's take you back to our top story this afternoon. The ANC has announced its additional 80 National Executive Committee members. This follows the party's 55th National Conference, which adjourned yesterday and will conclude on the 5th of January. Now, let's get some more initial reaction to this. I'm joined by leadership expert, Professor Zwelinzima Ndevu. Prof, good afternoon. Welcome to today, and thank you very much for your time. Just an overriding question first. I'm not sure if you had the opportunity to hear a response by Fikile Mbalula, the new Secretary General, to the question of the composition of this new National Executive Committee. He responded by saying, among other things, he wants energy in this NEC. Is this type of leadership that we think will provide this for the ANC, particularly because it's only about 18 months before, plus minus, we have the general elections in 2024?
I think what is glaringly clear from this leadership that has been elected, Braden, is that predominantly are young people or people that have served with Fikile Mbalula in the youth league at the time. So these are young people, very energetic. I think the ANC is at a time when it's declining drastically in the urban areas, and they need young people who can help them with mobilizing votes.
Yeah, I mean, there were some names that sort of stood out, including one of them that was mentioned by Fikile Mbalula at that briefing that finished a short while ago, the likes of Joel Nechitenze, but I also heard that there is no Zwelinzima Ndevu, there's no Thulas Nxesi. Is this a good thing, that it looks like the ANC, demographic-wise or generationally-wise, is shifting to hand over the baton to the younger ones?
It is certainly shifting. You would know that the ANC has been a dying party, a dying, slow death party. So this is clearly an indication that the ANC is shifting. It wants people that have new ideas, people that can take the ANC further. But what we have also seen is that the president's slate has taken a clean sweep, except for a few, I think less than 20 people that have been elected there. All the others are president persons or in the slate of the president. This augurs well for a unified, for a coherent leadership of the ANC. We know that we have had for the past 5 years a very divided NEC. So I think this must be a welcome relief that we have an NEC that can work together.
Yeah, so you think Ramaphosa will be emboldened to release the handbrake on some of his key initiatives because he'll have that kind of supportive or friendly, let me say, inverted commas, NEC?
I think so. It will only be him to be blamed if he cannot initiate and push his programs now going forward with the type of leadership that he has. Are people that support him, are people that share the same vision of unity and renewal with him, except for a few people like Batabile Dlamini, Andile Lungisa, and the others such as Supra Mahumapelo. The rest are people that he should feel comfortable with and therefore release the handbrake in all the programs that he has been talking about.
Now, from a leadership perspective, I mean, you are the expert here, Prof. What kind of style do you think he should adopt now? Because this is the second term, it's the last term in the ANC recent tradition. You are in there for 2 terms. I mean, what style of leadership should he adopt?
I think any leadership or any leader adopt a style of leadership informed by the context and the environment that he or she is operating within. The context within which Cyril Ramaphosa is operating in is that there is high unemployment, a rate of poverty is also growing, and young people in majority are unemployed. So he should be a pragmatic leader who bring practical programs to solve the challenges of our country. We have heard the rhetorics about big visions and all of that. We want implementation. I think his leadership should focus mainly on the implementation rather than on bringing new ideas. The plans that are there already needs to be implemented. The fact that it is his last term in office, it is even crucial that he start implementing all his plans to realize. I think earlier on you asked me a question around Joel Nechitenze. He's one of the best known strategists within the ANC. I think they will have to co-opt him to assist them in ensuring that they bring implementation plans.
Yeah, especially when they are strategizing and about the way forward. And what about minorities? Now, you mentioned co-option now. Fikile Mbalula, the Secretary General of the ANC, did mention that as well when he was asked a question a short while ago that they will look and see after January 5th who can be co-opted, both from the minority perspective and also in terms of other expertise. I mean, that should be helpful.
It should be helpful, but I'm cautious around moving with this issue of minorities without realizing what is the voter base of the ANC. What is it that doesn't make minorities more appealing to the ANC or more attractive by the policies of the ANC? Because the minorities are really questioning, even in the Western Cape and in the Northern Cape, where you have a lot of minorities that you would assume that ordinarily would support the ANC because they're poor, downtrodden and all of that, but they are not attracted to the policies and the politics of the ANC. Perhaps the ANC must start by doing a retrospection before they even think about co-opting, so that reintrospection can then tell them what kind of people they should co-opt. It doesn't help only co-opting a color of a skin of a person or a person's being without really aligning that to a strategy of the movement. I think that's a bigger call that they'll have to make.
Yeah, and I mean the ANC's heritage has been around non-racialism, and historically you look at from the 60s, that's when they accepted, admitted and non-African leaders at the top echelons of the leadership post the 1969 Morogoro Conference. Now, let's look ahead. You said it's youthful. They've got people who served. There's a number of them who are young in that terms. I mean, no longer they're not youth; they are young, like Fikile Mbalula, and you've mentioned other names. You know, you've got your Stella Ndabeni Abrahams, you've got your Ronald Ramolas, you've got the others. They were all there together. But very interesting, you also got a good representation of young women who form part of the 44 who are now in the National Executive Committee. And our country, the majority are women. So that should bode well in terms of helping the ANC to connect with those that it says it represents.
Certainly. I think what this conference has said, the 55 conference, they wanted change. And that change must now be reflected in government, where the ANC governs and national, provincial, and at local sphere of government. So one is expecting to see a lot of changes happening in the near future because they don't have time before the next elections to ensure that there's change. These people that have been elected are given tasks and responsibilities in government to ensure that the programs of the ANC are implemented at that level. So I'm expecting President Ramaphosa to be bold, and as we start the new year after the January 8th celebration, then he can immediately have a reshuffle of the cabinet to put these young people in positions of authority, helping him in realizing his dream. So that's what I'm expecting from that level, and that we can see more of them coming up as well.
Thank you very much for your time and your insights in your initial reaction and analysis of the newly elected ANC's National Executive Committee. That's leadership expert, Professor Zwelinzima Ndevu.